Hey. How you guys doing? Welcome to our Sunday night live from our office here at the house. We just want to welcome everybody and say hello. We are live now on Facebook and on YouTube. So those who are not Facebook people, maybe Telegram people, or not social media at all people, can show up and say hello to us as well. So we are still kind of trying to work some bugs out on this because on this app we're using now, I can see that Facebook people are saying hello, but Marilyn's having to kind of cross-reference with to see who they actually are.
Let me see who's on. I see Crystal Reynolds, Tracy Cannon, Cindy Flores, Darla Rambunga, and I think I saw some others on here. I think I saw Anthony.
Tracy, Casey. Anyway, you guys know the drill. You're already commenting, which is fantastic. We do ask you just, Facebook and YouTube, all these things work on algorithms, right? So when you get on here and you show some love, you like love, you can angry face us if you want. I don't care. But do that. Show some.
I'm like, I care.
Throw some. You care?
I don't want the angry faces.
You don't want angry faces?
I don't like angry faces.
Okay. Well, you can laugh or be sad or whatever. Anyway. But yeah, drop a comment in there. Let us know that you're here. Sometimes we can see who's there and who's not. But if you drop a comment in there, that helps us a lot by just knowing that you're there. So you can drop your favorite emoji. You can just say hello. You can comment on how amazing my wife looks. I mean, whatever you want to do there, that would be great. So anyway, we are seeing quite a few of you pop on here, which is great. And we will just get right started, I think, huh? So
Anthony,
I'm here. Yes, I know that you are there, Anthony. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the angry face.
But there are plenty of people available to be with us because we just passed another milestone on our Facebook group.
Yeah, we're now up to 1,500 members in our group, so that's exciting. A little nerve-wracking, just because we know that Facebook likes to, watch groups like ours.
And they say once you get to 1,500, right, that's kind of when they start censoring a little bit more. Yeah. So I mean, that kind of is something we needed to talk about just a little bit anyway, right? Because we have a few different things that are going on. One is that we've gotten to the point where, as far as Facebook is concerned, we do have to be kind of careful. I know we've gotten a lot of admin, what do they call those things? Admin quality control notices where, we're spreading fake news or we're spreading, misinformation or whatever the case might be. So anyway, what they say is that, the more of those that we get, the more they're going to throttle down our reach on Facebook. And I know that there actually are a lot of people who've been involved for a while who aren't seeing a lot of our stuff.
I know that basically, from my understanding, Facebook has told us as the admin and Crystal Reynolds, who is also our other admin, that if you guys don't
clean this up, basically,
then we'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So it's
whatever. That's Facebook being Facebook, right?
Yeah.
In one degree. So
the reason why we originally started on Facebook is because most people have Facebook. It's the easiest way that we felt it would be to draw the numbers, which is what we needed.
Yeah.
But we do have our backup channel, which is on Telegram.
Right.
So I want to encourage you guys. I know it's another app to download, and I know that that's not fun. And we, it's like, I really don't want another social media platform. But if you still want to be able to stay connected and involved, if something does happen to our Facebook, we do that. We do have that as a backup.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot more room to be.
To just post whatever
not
you
be
want.
Censored, basically.
Yeah. So and yes, absolutely,
and
on
to
Telegram.
Be able to speak freely.
The other thing that we have that we actually just started is, a couple things. One is we are on Instagram now, so you can look for us right there on the screen. You can see unmask_Tulare County. You can find us there as well. And there might be a few of you even watching this we did start a YouTube channel, like we said, for people who are not Facebook folks, or if they'd rather do YouTube. If you go and search for Unmasked Tulare County, you'll find us there. I'd encourage you to click the subscribe button. That way, when we pop up, you can know that we're there. We do like to give these updates kind of every week. We skipped out on last week. I don't remember why. I think we had a church service last week. Did. But we do try to get on here fairly often and just kind of keep everybody posted on what's happened and what's coming up. So that's what we're doing here tonight. So the other thing is, we've talked a lot about messaging lately, and the group has grown into a movement, and which is a really good thing. And as the group has grown, we've gotten into a lot of people who are posting a lot of different things, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different perspectives, all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that's been challenging is protecting the message of the group when it comes to like people's personal opinion, even our personal opinions and stuff, right? So, we have basically the message of the group, Unmasked Tulare County. It's not just about masks, right? It's really about unmasking the truth. And that comes down to, masks, vaccines, or really unmasking. I was trying to think of what the analogy was I was thinking about earlier, but anyway, it'll come to me and I'll reach it out there. But really what we're going after is just protecting and restoring the ability to have our own individual liberties and freedoms. And so, right now we're focused on obviously mask mandates, vaccine mandates, things along those lines. And we want to make sure that we're staying focused and staying in our lane.
Yes.
Right. And so some of you may have seen, and maybe you're frustrated with the fact that, you've posted something to the group and maybe it didn't show up or it got declined. And there's a few reasons for that. We did set up some group rules and we talked about those, I think, on our last live. But one of those things really is staying in our lane and trying not to alienate other people. So, the people who in our group who are vaccinated and have made that choice for themselves, but they stand with us because they realize the government shouldn't tell us that we have to do that, or shouldn't tell us that we have to do that with our kids.
Yeah.
Right. And so we don't want to alienate people by coming across totally anti-vax on the group. You may have opinions and I may share that opinion, but as far as the group goes, we have to protect the group and grow the group. And we don't want to alienate people who agree with us on 90% of things, but maybe have that one thing, and so we do, take those things to heart. So please don't be offended if you post something and we choose not to allow it to go into the post. Also, the other thing is a lot of people will share things and it's already been in the group like 10 different times.
Yeah.
When there's some breaking news kind of thing, and you guys are great about this, 20 of you will post, the same article, which is great because you don't know that 20 of you posted that same article. But, if yours doesn't get on there, but somebody else's does, just comment on theirs and, you can leave your 2 cents in that way. And that's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
And we're trying to keep the feed, like our news feed, from getting cluttered, I guess.
Yeah.
With just so much information.
Man, I was looking for something the other day and it was something that we'd posted like 2 weeks ago. And I swear I was scrolling for like 10 minutes trying to get to that thing that was posted 2 weeks ago. So, it does get cluttered because everybody's passionate, right? You guys are so passionate and we love that and we appreciate that about you. But if we don't allow everything to get posted on there, that's kind of why. We have some folks who, are posting like 30 things a day, are trying to post 30 things a day. So we try to get a little selective. That way it doesn't get overwhelming for everybody. So anyway, all that just to say, if something gets declined or you don't see it right away, please don't be offended. We're just trying to kind of guard and protect the group for a variety of reasons.
Probably a good possibility that we actually agree with the post.
Yeah.
I know I personally have had to keep myself in check and I'm like, man, I totally agree with this post. Like this post is like super cool, and I want to approve it. And I'm like, but it's not, it's like, but we're getting out of our lane a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like
maybe it's not focused or something
for the group.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, sure. Maybe that's something I can share my own personal page or,
absolutely. Yeah, and that's the big difference, right? There's things we post on our personal pages, and that's fair game. Obviously, it's our personal page. And then there's things that advance the group and move us forward, right? So we're a grassroots movement that's about education, organization, and advocating, right? For our kids, for our jobs, for, our freedoms and our liberties. And so we want to advance that movement forward in a way where we're doing something and not just complaining on Facebook about things, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, the other exciting news that happened just as a group, as an organization, is we are now officially an organization. So we got our corporate documents back from the state. So we are Unmasked Tulare County Incorporated officially. So we'll be filing for our nonprofit status, which will be good. Hopefully that doesn't get rejected for any reason. But anyway, that's coming up, which is exciting. So
what do you mean get rejected?
I mean that because we filed that way, we still have paperwork that has to be filed.
Gotcha.
And so who knows? People can reject things for all kinds of different reasons. So just wanted to talk a little bit about some stuff that went on in the past week, really 2 weeks, because we haven't done a live like this in a couple of weeks. But just going back a little bit to last week, I wasn't actually there. You were, but there was a Veterans Day parade in Porterville. So do you want to give a little bit of a recap on that?
Yeah. So I guess our sister group, is that what you would refer to it as?
Sure.
Which is Blessings of Liberty in Porterville, signed up to be in their Veterans Day parade, and quite a bit of us. I didn't get a head count. I mean, I got pictures, but I didn't really get a head count. There had to have been at least 20 of us.
Okay.
At least.
Yeah.
Maybe between 20 and 30.
Okay.
Anyways, and we walked in the parade. Well, we had
a float or a trailer.
Yes. Yeah. So for those who couldn't walk the entire thing, they were able to sit if they needed to sit, but we were passing out flyers, advertising for the sit out. I was wearing my Unmasked Tulare County shirt. My youngest son was wearing his Unmasked Tulare County shirt. He was passing out the touch cards.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a really good overall, it was a really good response. I mean, you're always going to have people that don't agree with you.
Sure.
But that's okay. I mean, we can agree to disagree.
Yeah. I mean, I always say we're on the side of actually fighting for people's right to disagree with us. Right.
Yeah.
And so, if somebody has a different opinion, like we're cool with that. Like that's good. We actually are fighting for your ability to have that disagreeing opinion. So yeah, you're always going to get that.
That's actually what I told one lady, during the parade. She was just like, no, I don't agree with you. And I was like, that's the beauty of America. We can agree to disagree and still, kind of be civil
and move
with
on.
each
Yeah,
other.
For sure.
So, yeah.
So it was a good event.
It was.
Good. We also did have the sit out on the 15th. So I don't think it was quite as successful as the first one was, from what I'm understanding. But, we did have a lot of people sit out. We had our rally up at TCOE, which we had probably 70 or 80, I think, people show up to that. We had a lot of people standing out on the streets. You guys have probably seen pictures of people that were just kind of rallying for freedom on the street. We gathered everybody up. One nice thing was Sheriff Boudreaux was there. He came in, he actually addressed the crowd, took some questions, which was great. Fully on our side, supporting what we're doing, and just had some advice. And his advice was basically keep fighting, like don't give up.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of people are going to do in Sacramento or on school boards or whatever is they're going to wait us out. They're going to say, you know what, they're going to come here kicking and screaming, but next week or next month, they're not going to be here.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel like really we're in a big poker game right now, and they're just waiting
for us to fold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And call our bluff. And I'm like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And I just want to encourage those that believe in the power of prayer, be praying for our sheriff.
Yeah.
I mean, not just right now, but always. I think he can use all the prayer that he can get, during these times right now. So
sure.
Yeah, be praying for him.
Yeah. And praying for, the sheriff, praying for even our school boards and our governor and, all those people, even though we disagree, we should definitely be praying even for the movement. For me and Marilyn, we would appreciate that because this gets exhausting.
I was kind of scared to ask, but yeah.
But that would be fantastic. And we appreciate it. I hear from all kinds of people all the time that say, we're praying for you guys and we're praying for the movement and all this, which is fantastic. I mean, we've never been ones to shy away from our faith and the fact that it's going to take a move of God to actually make this happen. A bunch of us, however many people we get in our army, are not going to move this thing. It's going to have to take God stepping in and intervening. And so, definitely being in prayer for everything involved is great. Yeah. The other thing, I'm just seeing a comment about civil disobedience.
That was Crystal.
That is, is it? Okay.
I can see the names right here.
Yeah, that was the other thing that we talked about with the sheriff, which I think is ironic when your sheriff is talking to you about having to get into some civil disobedience. And just to clarify, he's not talking about, rioting and burning things down or doing things that are illegal or dangerous or any of that stuff. But we need to get into just a place where we say no. And, one of the things that we had talked about is, when it comes to masking, just like sending our kids to school without masks and getting organized in the sense that, if enough of us do it, then what are they going to do about it? And, these are the kind of conversations that we're having. And it's kind of we're kind of in a weird place right now because we're going into Thanksgiving, which means we're going into Christmas and New Year's. So you may not see a whole lot of different events and things going on over the next month. And that's partially because we realize that everybody's busy and we have stuff that's going on. This is an incredibly busy stretch for all of our families. And as important as this stuff is, like taking time for Thanksgiving and being thankful and grateful for what we do have is incredibly important. So as you guys are gathering around tables, let's not make everything about this kind of stuff. Let's set back and actually be grateful and be thankful and allow ourselves, the opportunity through the holiday season to express that gratitude and thankfulness. But anyway, yeah, there's probably not going to be a ton of different rallies and things. And you'll see even with the school board schedules, they mostly take the holiday season off. I think there's mostly one school board meeting per district in the month of December. So it's not, every 2 weeks like it normally is. So anyway, it's
we're still planning on attending those.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I don't think although it'd be kind of cool, if we didn't attend them and then come January, we're like, oh, you thought. I'm just kidding.
No, we need to stay on them. We need to hammer them. And I know in Tulare where we live, we're planning something with the teachers where they're going to hopefully show up in mass, and we're not masks, but in mass, like large quantities.
MASS.
Yes. And so, really make a statement, because it's important that we fight before the mandate shows up for them, before the testing option is taken away from them.
I feel like the board needs to know this is what you're going to be up against if you guys allow this.
Yeah. Yeah. They need to know they're going to lose hundreds of teachers.
And what are you going to do then?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're working, I know, behind the scenes. I know Visalia has a group. I know Porterville has a group. Exeter's working with a lot of different teachers and staff and things behind the scenes. But yeah, it's really time. And any of you who are teachers, know teachers, people who are in that industry, whether it's teachers or classified staff, really need to get out there and get vocal. It's time to get vocal.
And there are groups
absolutely
of teachers that are kind of working together behind the scenes. And because I feel so bad, because I think we all have friends that are either teachers or work for a school district or whatever. And I recently talked to a friend of mine who's a teacher, and I told her about a group of other teachers that were talking about these mandates and stuff like that. And she was like, thank you so much for telling me about this group.
She had no idea.
She said, I had no idea. I thought I was alone.
Yeah.
And I was like, it kind of broke my heart, to be honest, because I was like, how sad. No, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And so I think it really kind of put her at ease, knowing that she's not going this alone. And I feel like it probably gave her more confidence to know that, no, she's not going it alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is there's so many people still who think that they're alone in this. They have a certain way of feeling about all of this, mandates and these things. And they think that they're by themselves, and maybe they haven't come across our group. Maybe they don't do Facebook or just haven't seen it. But yeah, a lot of these teachers are doing behind the scenes Telegram groups, or what's the other one in Visalia? It's called the Band app, I think.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? The Band app. So anyway, if you are a teacher or know somebody and you need to try to get connected or get them connected with people who are like-minded in their teaching industry, like let us know, because we know of several. We do have contacts in several places now that can help point them in those directions. So that's good. Wanted to take a few minutes and just talk about some things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. One is I wanted to give a little bit of an explanation on this OSHA mandate issue. So I've had several people come in and talk to me about this and really just kind of be confused about what it means, what it might mean for them, what it doesn't mean, like all of that stuff. So I just wanted to take a minute and go over this OSHA mandate that everybody's hearing about and we're seeing all the articles for. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. Before you go any further with that, Crystal Reynolds, who, like I said earlier, is our admin.
Out of Visalia, yeah.
Yes, just commented and said that she can connect Visalia Unified School District with Teacher Band app if interested. So if there's anybody who, teaches in Visalia or is classified staff in Visalia, just reach out to Crystal Reynolds. She can get you connected with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if there's anybody in the Tulare area, just contact myself and I can get you connected. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. That's fine. Thank you for that. So on the OSHA thing, so OSHA, who is the Occupational Safety and Hazard Association, or whatever their official acronym is, but they basically handle safety when it comes to the workplace, right? And so what the mandate is, what the OSHA mandate is the one that we heard about way back in, I think, September from President Biden. And he said that, companies with over 100 people are going to be mandated to, basically mandate the vaccine for their employees, right? So he turned that over to OSHA to write up their emergency standard that was going to make that happen, basically. So then OSHA put that out early November. I think it was like the 2nd or the 3rd. And they went public with this emergency standard. And what it was for companies that are not under any other sort of mandate, but have over 100 employees, they were going to be required to mandate the vaccine for their employees or have a program that allowed for exemptions with testing. So what happened was, on the day that they put that out there, they got the crap suit out of them by all sorts of different people, right? There were like 11 states on that day, so many different businesses, like people were ready. They were waiting for this, and they just filed lawsuits like crazy. And so what happened was, in the 5th Circuit Court, Supreme Court, federal court, they took a look at one of these lawsuits and they said, you know what, this is most likely unconstitutional. There's going to be some issues with this. So we are going to put a hold on this mandate, on this emergency standard that OSHA is putting out there, while it works itself out in the legal realm. So while that was happening, I mean, there were still lawsuits just pouring in, and from all over the country. So like every district circuit had lawsuits that were basically about the same thing. So when that happens, what they do is they take all of those lawsuits and they consolidate them basically into one. And they say, okay, this is the overall complaint. It's nationwide. So now we're going to do a lottery and figure out which district is actually going to hear this case, hear this trial. And so that's what they ended up doing. And fortunately for us, it was the 6th district that's going to be hearing this case, which is a very conservative district. So it's favorable to those of us who believe in freedom and liberty. And it's likely that they will side with the people filing the lawsuits, which is great news. So what does that mean? Does that mean that teachers don't have to do the vaccine anymore? Does that mean that government employees? Does that mean healthcare workers? Like, what does that mean? And the reality, and I think the sad reality, is that if you are under a different mandate, so if you are under the mandate for healthcare workers, if you're under the mandate for teachers, if you're under a mandate for state employees or federal employees or any of these other industries that have mandates, this doesn't change anything for you. So if you're a teacher and you've been required to submit your vaccination status or submit to weekly testing, like that's still in play. The OSHA stay does not change that really at all. We still have to continue fighting. Now, the OSHA thing is important for everybody else because it sets precedent and it allows people to see, hey, on a federal level, there is a court that's saying, we don't think this is right. This is not legal. We're going to have to take a closer look at these lawsuits. So what it does is it strengthens the argument for those of us who are in other types of industries that are impacted in different ways. But for those who are like teachers, for example, or those who are work for the federal government, military, any of those people who may have been looking at that OSHA stay of the mandate as something that was going to get them out of it. I just wanted to clarify that because I've had that conversation probably 20 times over the last couple of weeks. And just there's a lot of confusion because it's not exactly clear what that means. So,
well, see, I was confused. Yeah, I was probably one of the 20 you had to clarify.
Sure. And that's fine. I mean, this stuff is,
because I had people reaching out to me and I was like, well, no, but the courts. And so Jimmy explained it to me and okay, correct me if I'm wrong, is that what that means is that employers can still mandate it, but that OSHA is not going to come in and make sure that employers are enforcing it.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So the enforcement mechanism of this. Right. You did. Absolutely. And I didn't say that. That's important too. So if you work for a company.
I felt like that was easy. I felt like that was like, that's how, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what rang true with me. Like that's, right. I was like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah. So if you work for a company who has issued a mandate, that doesn't mean the court is saying that they didn't put a stop to all of that. The company can still issue whatever mandate they want to. Now you can fight them on that, but they can issue a mandate and they're not going to get in trouble for it, except for however you sue them or, get them into trouble for it. But
this is good, I think, for companies of business owners who don't want to enforce it.
Exactly.
So let's say there's a business owner who is like, I'm in this predicament where they're telling me that I'm going to have to enforce this, but I don't want to enforce this. This is a way for them to be able to say,
we're putting the brakes on it.
We're going to wait and see how this ends up in court.
Right. So it's good news. It's not, the ultimate news that we're looking for, but it does. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of big companies out there that want nothing to do with this. And so they now have the opportunity to not put that mandate into place or face significant fines. And that's the crazy part. Like the teeth that's in the OSHA thing is crazy. Like they're going to fine you up to $14,000 per person per day when you're not enforcing this. That'll break the back of even a big company. So they're really trying to punish people financially for just not complying, which is crazy. And I think we probably know how this is going to work out in court. Just grateful that there was a stay on that.
So we have a question really quick. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but it says there are hospitals and nursing homes that are privately owned. So how are those employees carved out under a different mandate?
As I understand it, healthcare as an industry has basically been mandated by California, maybe even the feds. I'm not, a scholar when it comes to that.
They're probably still under that umbrella.
Yeah, you're under that umbrella, even though you're privately owned. The other thing I would say to that is that a privately owned business may have decided on their own to go ahead and make a mandate, or they may interpret the mandate as such that they would have to abide by that. And so they've made their own policies. I still think even within the healthcare industry, pushing those exemptions, pushing those declinations, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but, pushing those things and really putting pressure back on our employers is the way to go when it comes to that. Try to transfer that responsibility back to the employers. So, I don't know the chapter and verse to what that is, but I do know that there are certain industries, for example, healthcare industries, that they basically have said that everybody has to fall under that mandate in that industry. So I think even if you're privately owned, that's possibly an issue.
So Crystal replied, she said, if they are state regulated, even as a private entity, I would think it would still apply.
Yeah. And all this stuff gets into tangled webs, right? Yeah. So you could be a private industry, but if you have some sort of regulation where the state has their teeth into you a little bit, they can basically force you or pull a license or pull whatever regulation allows you to work. That's the downside to all this, and that's why it has to get worked out.
Which a lot of doctors and companies are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully that brings a little bit of clarity to the OSHA thing real quick. Another thing that we wanted to mention was there was a court case in San Diego County. This was it was sponsored by Let Them Breathe, which is a friend group of ours, that's statewide. This was founded basically on the masking issue. And they had filed lawsuit in the California Supreme Court against the state of California on the masking issue. And basically the issues were, the requirement to mask, the requirement to suspend kids or put them on independent study if they refuse to mask, as well as testing and what's the word I'm looking for? Quarantining. So quarantining was the other thing. And just basically the state requiring these things of school districts. They filed suit against them. They actually had their day in court. I'm going to share my screen here.
November 12th.
Because I was just going to show you. Whoa, that looks fun.
Or November 19th.
We'll pull this thing up here. Hopefully you can see this as I'm sharing my screen.
Let me see. Oh, they saw all the crazy. Yeah, they can see it.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, there we go. Haven't done that before, so this is a new one. Anyway, this is a helpful document that the attorneys for Let Them Breathe has put out, and it basically explains what happened. So it's sort of a good news, bad news situation, because the bad news is, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but we're just going to go through it. This talks about, as counsel for Let Them Breathe, we're writing this open letter to explain a recent ruling, and it talks about where the ruling was. Filed a lawsuit against the state to challenge the legality of the CDPH mask mandate in K-12 schools throughout California. Okay, so it talks a little bit about that, and we'll make this available to anybody who wants it, who hasn't seen it. But it kind of just goes through and says that on November 12th, the San Diego Superior Court judge issued an order in favor of the defendants. Now, the defendants are the state in this case. So it didn't go our way when it came to the way the judge ruled. So it says, while we are disappointed in the outcome, the order does provide some clarity, which I think is really good for reasons we'll talk about in a minute, in regard to the state's official position and the scope of the CDPH's mask mandate and COVID-19 quarantine recommendations for the K-12 schools. So basically what happened is the order confirms that the portion of the CDPH guidance applicable to COVID-19 quarantining and testing protocols are recommendations only, not mandates. So basically what happened was the judge went back and she said she poured hours into reading through these guidances that CDPH put out. And as she was reading through this, she said, I don't see anything in here that actually says that quarantining and testing protocols are required. It's just saying they're not mandated. They're recommending that this is what our school boards do. Okay, so, she gives some a quote in here. So, thus schools are not required to follow the CDPH protocols for quarantining healthy students. Additionally, the state does not require schools to provide or perform routine COVID-19 testing of the patients. The students. So when the school boards are telling us their hands are tied, they have no choices when it comes to a lot of these things. They're either misinformed or they're lying. Now, probably misinformed, because I know a lot of these people don't study these things for a living, but it's not true that they are required and have no choice to do things like quarantining healthy kids, to do things like testing them if they were anywhere close to a kid who tested positive, and also for the enforcement of masking. Now, they did say that the only thing that the state mandate, the CDPH guidance, actually mandates or requires them to do is to have students wear a mask, or individuals wear a mask or face covering while indoors at a K-12 school in California. And then it says, however, enforcement of that mask mandate is left up to each school. Now, we've seen this in smaller school districts, mostly across the state, where they've said, you know what, we're requiring you to wear a mask. But if you don't, we're not going to put our teachers or our staff in a position where they're going to be the mask police, right? It's the same thing that happened with In-N-Out up in San Francisco with vaccines. They said, you know what, we're going to put the signs up. We're going to say you're supposed to do this, but it's not our job to police this thing. And that's basically what this judge confirmed for us, was that enforcement and how the enforcement falls squarely on the responsibility of each school. So just reading through here, nothing in the CDPH guidance requires schools to exclude students who refuse to wear a mask. So what that means is, if a school district is excluding students, that means suspending them, making them go home on independent study because they're not wearing a mask. They can't go and say the state made us do it, because the state guidance does not require them to exclude students. That would be a policy that's made locally. So we've been arguing for local choice. We've been talking about having the ability to make these decisions locally.
Yes.
So when the state came in and they argued that, it's not our fault that the local districts are making their people do this, it's not our fault. They actually kind of helped us in that, because now we can go to our school boards and say, hey, the state is saying that they're not requiring you to do that. You've been telling us the state is requiring you to do these things, and that's just not true. So if we send them a copy maybe of this letter, I think it would be helpful to educate them as far as what the actual requirements versus recommendations are. So whether they know that or they don't, like, now we know that, which is great, and we can go in and make the argument that, hey, you need to enforce this differently. You need to take a look and do things maybe a little bit differently, that's more in line with how our people think and believe, the people that you supposedly represent. So there's some other stuff in here about independent study, how it's got to be voluntary. A child enrolled in independent study always retains the option to return to his or her regular classroom. And, there's a lot of that not happening right now. So this is a helpful letter, and kind of clarifies what actually went down. So it was kind of a win-lose situation. We didn't get the result that we wanted, but in the meantime, there was a lot of clarity that can help us when it comes to what we're doing. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there and just let everybody know that that's there. We will be posting that letter here tonight before bed, so that anybody who wants it can feel free to send that off to their superintendent, send that off to their board members, let them know that there's not a requirement to do these things. And even the masking that is required, the enforcement of that is really up to you. So take the lead of some of these schools that have decided that, they're not going to turn their people into mask police and so forth. So that's good news.
Now, that is just for students, correct?
Well, I mean, it says people. So
that could include,
yeah, I mean, the reason
staff?
why teachers and staff have to wear masks and all that is because of that guidance. So it would apply to everybody.
Interesting.
As far as I'm concerned. So anyway, that's great news, not so great news, and take it how you want to, but we do have a tool there in our toolbox to be able to send to our districts as well. And I think building that case is going to be really important. We're going to talk in just a minute about going on the offense, because we've played nice for a long time, and it's time to go on offense when it comes to our school boards and our employers and all of that stuff. So speaking of part of that, I do want to throw this out there too. We are still looking for plaintiffs in a lawsuit that we can't talk a whole lot about, but basically the type of person that we're looking for, this is somebody who works for a school district anywhere in Tulare County that has refused to participate in the testing protocol that is currently required of them. We know of several people in the county who have said, you know what, you're not testing me. I've submitted a religious exemption or some other type of exemption, and it's been denied. And these people have been put on unpaid administrative leave or fired. So if that's you, or you know of somebody in that situation, we do have a legal case that's developing, and we would love to get in contact with you. So if you would reach out to me, and I will put you in contact with the right people, so you can decide if you want to participate in this or not. So just to be clear, this is not for people who are working in schools and are saying, you know what, when the vaccine mandate comes into play, I'm walking. Like, I hope that's most of you, but that's not what we're talking about right now. You have to actually have had some damages applied to you at this point, so you have legal standing when it comes to a lawsuit. So if you've already been put out on unpaid administrative leave, please contact us. We do have an attorney working with us who's a bulldog, kind of a bull in a china shop, and we're going to get this done. So if that's you or you know somebody, please put them in contact with us. So I think that was it for review. We're going to get into, just for a few minutes, some stuff that's upcoming. Some of you, I think I'd seen some questions about January 3rd. We are going to get to that here in a few minutes. But just before that, we talked about needing to go on to the offense.
Yes.
And I know this is right up your alley. I've been a little more reluctant.
Yes. Let's go.
So we've played nice.
Yeah.
For a long time.
I'm tired of playing nice, guys.
We've, tried to build bridges and bring people along with us and begged our leadership, begged our elected officials to come fight with us. And there are a few who have, and there are a few who are standing along with us, which is great. And we support those people and will continue to support them. But for those who won't, I think that they've forgotten that they represent the people.
Yes.
To places like Sacramento.
Yes.
And not the other way around. They don't represent Sacramento to us. They represent us.
Yes.
To Sacramento. And one of the things for me, it was in one of our last school board meetings, they were talking about a California State School Board Association that people can apply for. All the different board members can apply for it, and they can basically, be a part of this, statewide commission of school board members. And the superintendent was saying, hey, if any of you want to be a part of that, you can let us know. And they're all just kind of looking at each other like, no. And nobody really seemed interested. And I got up and when it was my turn to speak, I was like, are you kidding me with this right now? Because you always talk about, like, the school board members that I talk to, they're like, oh, we're just little Tulare, or we're little Visalia, and we don't have the pull that, LA has or San Francisco has or whatever. And I'm like, well, here you have an opportunity to get involved in something that's statewide and be a voice that represents those of us who are in your district, those of us who elected you. And they're just hemming and hawing like, oh, I don't think I need to do that. And I'm like, what the heck's wrong with you? You're supposed to be representing us to them. And it certainly feels like they are representing Sacramento towards us instead of the other way around. So basically, if they're not going to get on board with that, we're going to go on offense. We're going to put them on the defense, and it's going to get crazy. So for those of you who've been waiting for this, here's your time. But this is what we're going to do. Somebody put the best defense is a good offense, and that's where we're at. So there's going to be a handful of things that are coming down the line, and what we need from all of you is that when it comes time, and we'll talk about school boards for now, but when it comes time, we're going to need to have people to replace these folks with.
Yeah.
Because if they're not going to stand with us, they need to go. They need to be replaced. This is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's not a government of Sacramento, by Sacramento, and for Sacramento. So if they won't represent the people, they got to go. And I don't care who they are. They need to go, and they need to be replaced. And whether that's through a recall, whether that's through voting them out when it's time, or one of these other methods that we might be able to get things done sooner, they need to go if they're not going to represent us the way that they need to. So I need everybody in this group, and put the call out. Go through your neighborhoods. Think of people that you know, even people who are not necessarily highly involved with our group, but be thinking like, this person would be great on a school board. And then realize, I'm going to throw this caveat in there, that COVID is not the only issue that school boards have to deal with.
Yeah.
So, it can't be somebody who's great on COVID, but is a doorknob on everything else. So, we need to find the right people who can step in and fill these positions, but people who will respect the will of the people, and people who will represent those who voted them in towards those who are making rules. I mean, it just drives me crazy that people will not represent us to the people who are making the rules in Sacramento. So if they won't, they got to go. And we need to find the people who are going to step in and replace them.
So what would a good candidate look like? Like, do they have to have like a PhD
no.
they're masters or what?
No, I think, somebody who is a good, freedom-minded person who obviously has a decent head on their shoulders. It can't be somebody who can only see things from one perspective. I mean, they have to be a fairly level-headed person, I think. You don't have to have a master's degree in budgeting or like any of that kind of stuff. But, that's why you have 5 or 7 board members, is that you draw on a collection of everybody's talents. So really it's willingness, people who are willing to step up and fill that role. But I know a lot of people are just like, I can never do that. I can never be a board member. But I don't know. I mean, I've gone to plenty of board meetings now, and I'm looking at folks and I'm just like, if they can do it, I can certainly do it. Right. Or, anybody else can certainly do it. And that's not a knock. I'm just saying that I don't think it takes, the rocket scientist to sit on a school board.
Well, the reason why I ask is because I think a lot of people are intimidated because you have board members who were former like educators,
right,
or, doctors, or
there's a lot of school board people are just folks,
and that's very intimidating.
Sure.
Because some people might think, well, I'm not qualified.
Think about that for a second though. If you're not, we need parent representation on school boards, like period. Like when you have boards that don't have people who currently have kids in the districts that they're representing, like that's crazy. How would you not have parent representations in people who've never been, a part of the system? Right. So, and it's probably, I can't see who this is, but I'm guessing it would be John, a good candidate who's someone who's never been in the corrupt public education system.
Oh, that was Tracy.
Oh, it's Tracy. Okay, great. But, there's truth to that though. Like if you're a union member who's been a part of the system and all that, you can't see it from the perspective of somebody who hasn't been. Like you can't see it from my perspective, the parent who's, got a certain way of thinking. So, I mean, there's room for almost anybody to be on that. If you have the willingness and you feel like, you know what, there's something on the inside of me that I feel like I'm being called to this moment in time, and don't ignore it. Like, don't push it down and say, I can't do that. And, one thing about that we've learned through this whole thing is you have to be stretched in order to grow. Like we're all doing stuff. We're doing stuff that we're not comfortable doing. Right. We're just like,
I'm on Facebook Live right now. I'm not comfortable.
So, I mean, none of us are professionals at doing this stuff. And really what it comes down to is a willingness to step out, a willingness to be uncomfortable and allow yourself to grow. And I mean, these last few months have been incredible as far as growth. It's been incredibly hard, this journey that we're on, incredibly hard, but it's been such a rewarding thing. Even though we haven't gotten to where we want to get to, the fact that we're out there and being stretched and allowing ourselves to grow has been incredible. And so if you're sitting back and you're waiting, I just want to encourage you, if you want to step into like the greatest season of growth in your life, jump out there and do something that you're not comfortable with. Jump out there and do something that you're not qualified for. Jump out there and do something where that itch on the inside of you, we call him the Holy Spirit, that itch on the inside that's saying, you know what, that's you. That's you. You could represent your district. You could represent that city. Listen to that. Step out. Ask for help. Ask for people to come alongside of you. We got 1,500 people in this group that are going to come alongside and support you. And so if that's you, or if you know of people and you're just like, bless you, excuse me, and you're like, so-and-so would be perfect in that role, encourage them to step in and be a part of that, because we really do need to start having people in place and ready when the time comes.
Because what's going to happen, like if board members start being recalled or whatever, or I mean, in 2022, I know that some are up for re-election.
Right.
So, and it's like, oh, we want to replace these, but we don't know with who. It's
I mean, we can get real passionate about getting rid of them, but you got to replace them with somebody. So
exactly.
We need to know who that is, right?
Yeah. We have a question. I think this is actually a really good question. It says, are board members allowed to accept contributions from the teachers' unions or any other entity trying to purchase influence?
I don't know. Okay, let me say this. When it comes to getting elected, the answer would be yes. I mean, they could accept contributions from anybody. So I know that just like, the California Teachers Association's dropping $2 million to Governor Newsom on the recall election. So-and-so in Lindsay, who's running for school board, can accept donations as well. So I know that does happen where people are, kind of hand selected by folks like that, like unions or like whatever, and they throw money at them to get them elected. So, that's also one of the things that we'll be dealing with. Like, can they be paid directly by the teachers unions? I think legally, no, but they can do it through campaign contributions, and they can get creative like people do and, get that going. But we definitely need people who are not willing to be bought off.
Yeah.
And not willing to compromise. So I would say, in addition to your willingness to serve, you want to be uncompromising, because you're going to have plenty of opportunity to compromise. And so you need to be somebody who's willing to stand on conviction, who's willing to not waver and say, I'm going to do what's right, regardless of what the circumstance is or whoever's trying to pressure me or bully me or bribe me, in that situation. So somebody in convictions and somebody who's willing to serve.
Yeah. And then Crystal also mentioned Visalia Unified School District needs Area 6 seats soon.
Yes.
So
that's those already vacant.
Yes. So for those that live in that area, if you're not sure if you're in that area, let us know. We can show you the map so that you can look to see if you're in that area. Did I say that?
Yeah.
But anyways, be thinking and praying about that. Maybe that's, something that you would like to,
and Crystal or somebody who's in Visalia, if you do a favor, maybe jump on the Visalia website, figure out the district boundaries. If you want to drop that in the comments here, that would be fantastic. That way people can see, because most people, it's like, until we got started in this, I had no idea what district I lived in when it came to the school boards. And that's where most of us are, is we have no idea. So, we're asking people if you live in area 6, we need to know what that is. So if somebody wouldn't mind just dropping a link to that area map, we'll try to put it up on the main page as well, so everybody can see that, and then we can grab people who are in there. So it is another provisional placement for a 1-year term. What that means is that you would get selected by the board to come in and serve 1 year, and then there's going to be an election after that. So it's not even a full 4-year commitment. This would be a 1-year commitment for the Visalia Area 6.
Are they 4-year or 2-year?
I'm pretty sure that they're 4 years when you get voted in.
Oh.
But so anyway, that's one that's available right now. We don't even have to do anything to recall anybody. This is an area that actually, so it was a fairly conservative guy who came off the board, and we need to replace him with somebody who is like-minded. When I say conservative, I'm not talking Republican, Democrat. I'm saying somebody who is freedom-minded, somebody who believes in liberty and the individual's right to choose. Like, we need somebody who allows that in their mentality and has that conviction within them. So anyway, let's get somebody in there in Visalia. So we need to find quality school board candidates, also county supervisor candidates. Not everybody on the board of supervisors in Tulare County, and I would also say your city councils. There's lots of places where people can get involved and can run and have an influence. But not everybody sees things the way we see them, and we really need to, if we're going to be by the people, of the people, by the people, and for the people, we have to get people in elected positions who believe that way. And so, if we're going to drain this swamp, if we're going to turn things back over to the people, we have to get the right people in there. So it's not just limited to school board seats. So, keep that in your mind as well. All right. I'm not going to get too much into this, but I want you to know that there's something coming in the next week or so that, the leaders of our different cities throughout unmasked Tulare County, so Tulare, Visalia, Porterville, Exeter, have been getting together with some different minds and brainstorming ways where we can go on the offensive. And I'll tell the story another day, but it was really a God thing that we got hooked up with a couple people who are have been in this, as far as I don't want to call it a legal process, but it's basically a strategy to put the pressure on either employers or school boards. And so through something called a declination, which is pretty much like an exemption, but it's making a statement, I'm declining to participate in things like masking or testing or vaccination. And, pretty much, serving people with these declinations is just a statement. It's actually fairly simple, saying I'm a sovereign person and I don't give you the ability or the right to take my sovereignty from me in X, Y, and Z. So it's the start of a process that goes from a declination to a formal inquiry, which is going to give them a list of 20 or 30 questions that need to be answered, but a formal inquiry. And when we talk about a school board, it would be something where we would serve them and say, you need to address this at your next meeting and give us answers to what gives you the authority and the right to demand these things of us. And so it's formally kind of serving them with an inquiry that they need to respond to. And if and when they don't, because they probably won't respond the way they need to, we would continue the process with things like formal notices, demand letters, and official affidavits signed by everybody and their mother to basically put the pressure, put the ball in their court. Let's take up their time and their energy and their resources, having to be on the defense when it comes to us and not us being on the defense when it comes to them. And so beyond that, there's going to be opportunity when we talk about maybe unseating people sooner than the next election. This is kind of where this is going. And we could potentially end up in a constitutional situation where we may be able to take action. I'll just put it that way. And at the very least, what it does is it builds a tremendous legal case when they do drop mandates and things on us that we refuse to do and they fire us. Then we would have a tremendous legal case because they basically ignored us or didn't give us the information that we had been demanding over time. So we're going to be looking to do this in the major cities, school boards in the next month or so. There are just so everybody knows, there are over 100 school districts in Tulare County. Don't know how many of you realize that, but there are a lot of single school districts and, things along those lines. So logistically, to be able to do this stuff in every one of them is difficult. So we figure if the big ones fall, the small ones are going to fall suit too. And honestly, a lot of the really tiny school districts, we don't have as big of a problem with this anyway in our area. But I just want you guys to know this is coming. We're going to be putting out signing parties because we're going to need as many people in each of these districts to come in and sign affidavits. And, you'll find out more about what all that means. But we're going to sometime in probably early December be having signing parties in each of the bigger cities that we're going to ask everybody to come out, like in a 3-hour window. We'll have to have a notary there and so forth. And we will be having these signing parties in different cities where you can come out and you can sign this to be a part of it. And that it's not anything where there's, any obligation or financial. You're not going to get drug into court or any of those kind of things. But it's almost like signing a petition that's saying I'm lending my voice to the fact that you need to answer these questions. You need to answer for what gives you the authority to tell us that we as free people have to do what you're telling us to do. And so that's kind of what I mean by going on the offense. Mm-hmm. And, the tone will change for sure. And that's okay, because we've given people plenty of opportunity to come alongside us. And for those that have not and will not, it's time for changes. So anyway, that's coming as well. So the last thing we wanted to talk about was January 3rd, because a couple of people have asked about that. And in case you missed it, we did announce a couple weeks ago that there will be an event at the Capitol, Sacramento Capitol, on January 3rd. And just to give a little recap, I'd reached out to a couple of the statewide groups, the big groups that, have a huge, tens of thousands of people following. And I said, I want to mobilize our group to Sacramento, but I don't want to do it while the Congress people are out of session and it's just an empty building. So while I appreciate the, a couple thousand people that have gone up to the Capitol on, these school sit-out days, well, I appreciate that. And I think it's great. You're protesting in front of an empty building. So if you want to get something done, if you want to make some noise with the people who are going to be making these decisions, we need to do it while we're there. So that was A, I wanted to do it while we're there. And B, I don't want to go up there and mobilize us for something where there's a couple thousand people. I mean, a couple thousand people is great, but that doesn't move the hand of Sacramento like at all. So I was asking, is there anything that might be coming up? And I'd done some research, and I knew that on January 3rd, that was the day that the Congress, the Senate and the House goes back into session. And I'm like, is there anything going on like after January 3rd that we could be a part of as a county? And the guy says, you know what? Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because we just pulled a permit for 3 sides of the Capitol building. Each side of the Capitol building can probably do 15,000 people. So we pulled a permit for January 3rd, which is the date that they come back in. It's going to be in the afternoon on January 3rd, which is a Monday. And we're going to go out there and we're going to let them know that what they're doing to us is not okay. So looking to bring, statewide, we're looking at 50,000 plus people who are going to be out there on the steps of the Capitol and out in front, letting those people know that what you are doing is not okay. We are the people. We are a free people, and you mandating us for stuff that we're not comfortable with is not okay. We will not accept it. And so, if we can do that, if we can get 50,000 plus people out there, rattling doors. And again, we're not talking about violence. We're not talking about anything crazy, but a little civil disobedience saying we will not comply. And you guys need to know we will not comply. That's what we're talking about. So I told him, I said, I'm going to bring 1,000 to 2,000 people from Tulare County by itself. So that means everyone on here, everyone on our page, everybody's, neighbors and relatives and people, we're all going to Sacramento. So if any of you have any sort of in or contact with like charter bus rentals, if you know somebody who knows somebody, put them in contact with us. We need to get some buses. What I'm seeing is buses picking up in Porterville and Exeter and, Visalia, Tulare, and we all caravan. I'd love to see, 15 buses coming from Tulare County going up to the Capitol on that day, and us jumping out there as a county and saying, we will represent our county because we have a voice. Yeah. And we're not just little Tulare County. We're big Tulare County. We're we the people.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go and we're going to represent on January 3rd. So mark your calendars now for January 3rd. Don't do anything. Don't go to work. Take the day off. Bring your kids with you, because that's so important that your kids come and they see the process. They need to see that mom and dad or grandma or grandpa or whoever is standing for their future, is standing so that they get to be a free people and their kids get to be a free people. Because if we don't do something right now, their kids are not going to be free people, because freedom is only one generation away from extinction at any time. So we can't let that happen on our watch. And so January 3rd, when all of these people, these school board members and these county supervisors are telling us, you need to get up there and fight Sacramento, that's our day. That's our moment. That's our time. Yeah. So January 3rd, January 3rd, January 3rd, put it on all your calendars, write it on your wall in Sharpie. I don't care what you do, but make sure you know that's where you're going to be. You're going to be in Sacramento with everybody that you know that thinks the same way we do on January 3rd. So that's my plug.
When is it?
January 3rd, 2022. So that's the plug. There will be more information coming. This is still in its planning stages. Asking about a flyer for the event. We will absolutely be doing that. I'm waiting for a little bit more solid information so that we have times and all of that kind of stuff. But
and make sure, I kind of think it would be cool, and maybe this is just a little, me being me.
Yeah.
If you guys want sweatshirts, put it in an order for a sweatshirt, because that's our next order that we have going in. I think it'd be all cool if we had like the matching sweatshirts.
We're all rocking a mask Tulare County. Yeah, no, that'd be great. And it's going to be cold, so hoodies are a big thing. We did put out a thing. If you want a hoodie, we're going to be placing an order for them. They're $25, any size. Just let us know that you want one and what size and how many and all that stuff. But
yeah. And who said this? Yeah, most schools are still on winter break.
Yeah.
So let's go teachers, parents, and students. I completely agree with that. And I understand not everybody's a teacher. I always get kind of jealous. I know we're not supposed to be jealous, but when teachers are out for like, Thanksgiving break or Christmas break or summer vacation, I'm like, I'm like, it's not fair. I don't get summer vacation. Well, I guess I do now, kind of, that I'm home, but I mean, that's different, but
yeah, the kids are still out.
Yeah, exactly.
Teachers,
so it's not
anybody
like
who takes all that.
there's not like, oh,
you don't
I'm
have
gonna
to pull
have
them
to
out
take
of
my kids
school.
out of school. I'm gonna have to miss work. If you're a teacher, no, like.
And if you're going on vacation, cancel it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, dang.
Actually, have all your people come to you, and then we can all go to Sacramento instead, right? So anyway,
I think it'll be a neat for those who bring their kids, like who haven't been up to the Capitol to see the Capitol. Yeah. It's really neat up there.
Yeah. And our kids need to see what's going on here. They need to see that we're fighting for them. They're not, even when they don't understand it, they need to see that as Americans, as sovereign people, sometimes we have to stand up for what we believe. And sometimes it's going to cost you something, and sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable. And sometimes you're going to be, on a Facebook Live and on Sunday night instead of doing whatever you'd rather be doing. But it's worth it. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why we do it, because there's such value to freedom. And we've lived in America and we've enjoyed these things for so long. We take it for granted. And, we don't even know what it's like in other countries and other parts of the world that don't have what we have. And we cannot give it up.
Yeah.
We cannot give it up. We have to fight and we have to win.
Yeah.
So it's so important for them to see it. And even if they don't want to go, and if they, are upset with you for taking them, somewhere on their break, they'll see it later. They'll see it later. I just want to encourage you to do that. And, it'll be good. Yeah. It'll be really good.
We had a question. Is there a long sleeve shirt option? I thought that, I was thinking the same thing.
Maybe. I'll have to ask, our guys. So one of the things about the shirts and the hoodies and all that stuff, we did decide to go local on that. So it's a company out of Porterville who's making those for us, is giving us actually a really good deal on it. But probably, but they're also a little bit at the mercy of what's available. I mean, you guys have all seen the articles and things about all the cargo ships that are out there in the middle of the ocean, and just the supply chain issues that everybody's having. So I can ask about, you're just talking about long sleeve t-shirts, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can find out, try to get a quote for those as well. So yeah, if that's something that you want. What I don't want to do, like, please don't come in and be like, I want one that says this, I want one that says that. As far as managing that, that's really difficult. If you want something made, there's plenty of people that can make you a shirt. Right?
Oh yeah. If you want somebody to have like a specific shirt for you made, just let me know. Some friends of mine do them. I can get you in contact with them, and so they can.
Yeah, I'll ask about the long sleeve shirt. I think a lot of people would love a long sleeve t-shirt.
I was actually thinking about it. Okay. I just hadn't asked you, and then
we can do that. We can do that. I'll get a quote for who asked that question. Elizabeth. Okay. So great. Anyway, that's, I think, all we had, right, for tonight. And I see we're an hour and 10 into this. So thank you for those who stuck with us. And hopefully you're not sick of us, but we love you all.
Yeah.
I just want to encourage you guys. The tide is turning in this thing. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but the tide is turning. I can feel it on the inside. I can feel it in my spirit that something is happening. Something is shaking. And, the people are rising up. I'm seeing all sorts of stories about all over the place where people are rising up and just saying, you know what? No, we're not going to do this anymore. And so the tide is shifting. We are not alone. We meet people every week who are just like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm not alone in this. So I do want to encourage you with that. And along with that, just understand that this is a long-term battle. And, we haven't seen the results that we wanted to see yet. But it's a long-term fight. And so don't lose courage. Don't lose heart that, oh, this hasn't happened yet, so I'm just going to give up. Stay the course. Mm-hmm. Stay with us. Let's grow stronger. Let's have a community that builds.
And find time for rest.
Yes.
Yes. I know that probably sounds really cheesy, but I myself have gotten very overwhelmed throughout this whole process. Yeah. And there have been times when I'm like, you know what? I need to take kind of a step away, and I just need to rest, and I need to just kind of reset. And
it,
yes.
Yeah.
So I know it's kind of hard to do over the holidays because you've got Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas, you've got New Year's, and you're rushing here, you're going there. And Yeah. So just try and also make that a priority, which I know is hard because you're like,
yeah, but even just,
they're trying to make everything a priority. How
one
do
of
I
the
find
things
time for that? That's important.
No, yeah, and that's absolutely true, because even with just information, right?
Oh yeah.
And just as much information that bombards us constantly all the time, right? And if most of you are involved in our group, other groups, Telegram channels, all of these different things where there's just a constant barrage of information. And that was something that God was talking to me about not too long ago. He said, Jimmy, you're on information overload, man. Like, you can only take so much, you can only process so much, and it just makes you, like, honestly, I felt like it made me worthless, there for a while in everything else, because I'm constantly just thinking about, oh my gosh, what about this? Or, oh my gosh, what about that? Or, you're waiting for the next thing. So you're not able to focus and do what you're supposed to do. And it's just like, okay, you need to step back.
Yeah.
And really compartmentalize this stuff and not allow it to completely take over your life. And so I would just encourage you guys with that. I know that there are people out there in our group that that are in that boat where you're just in information overload mode, and you feel like you have to see everything like at the time it happens and all of that kind of stuff. But I just want to encourage you that the world will go on if you didn't see that latest thing on Telegram or Facebook. So really the only thing you need to constantly pay attention to is unmasked Tulare County. I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh wait, what?
I'm playing. But no, but seriously though, when you need to disconnect, like disconnect. Leave your phone in the other room and go play with your kids.
Yeah.
Or leave the phone somewhere else and go do what you need to do. I recommend, when you go to bed, put your phone somewhere where you can't reach it and grab it first thing in the morning and look at it. Spend that first half hour. That's been something I've been challenging myself to. Spend the first half hour of my day like just disconnected from anything. And for me, it's a prayer time. It's a time where I can reset myself and center myself on God, put myself in the right perspective for the day. That way, when I do see stuff, hopefully I have a good foundation in my mind for where I need to be. Yeah. And so I would encourage you guys with that too. Like, set yourself a 20-minute rule or a half-hour rule or whatever it is. Whenever, it doesn't have to be first thing in the morning, but at some point throughout the day, just make sure that you disconnect from all that. And like Marilyn said, you have to rest. So
real quick, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make this go on even longer,
okay.
But I think one thing that we forgot in our agenda were parades. So Visalia has a Christmas parade and Tulare has a Christmas parade. Yes. And we had talked about doing
we did
like a float or something in those parades.
So Visalia,
and I believe, sorry.
No, you're okay.
Jack Persall even mentioned Woodlake too.
Okay. So the thing on Christmas parades.
So much for taking a break in December, guys.
No, the thing on Visalia, it's too late. Like we got in there and we were told that like the deadline date was sometime, I think, in October. So we missed that one. Tulare, I don't remember when the deadline is on that, but I know that the parade's on the 5th. We'll look into that and try to see if we're going to be able to do it. The thing is with parades, a lot of them are right around the same time. So we'd have to figure out, coordination and trying to get people. But, if you live in a city that has a parade, I would love it if you put that together and, made it happen, and we'll support you in any way that we can. Doesn't mean we'll be at every parade because we have lives too that we have to, have to balance as well. But, we're in full support of anybody who wants to do parades. And so, we'll have to look at deadlines. So if you live, I think, Jack, I know you live in Woodlake. Like, if you want to check into that, see when your parade is, when your deadline is, we'll support in any way that we can.
Yeah. So
I love it. I love the idea of doing that. One thing I will say is, let's be respectful if we're doing parades. Like, we don't need somebody standing there with a megaphone telling everybody who's vaccinated that they're going to die, or, any of that kind of stuff. We want to stand for what we're standing for, and that's choice. That's liberty. We're standing for, the ability to make the choice if I want to mask, make the choice if I want to test, or if I want to take the vaccine. Like, that's what we stand for. And we'll bring a lot of people into the tent when we focus on that message. So I love the parade idea. And I think that, we could do a lot of good with that. So if you have a parade in your city that you want to get going, let us know, reach out, and we're not going to do it for you, but we will certainly come alongside and see what we can do to help make it happen, right?
I'm looking at the Tulare one right now because I was thinking a friend of mine had posted it, and it said that it was due by the 19th, which was a couple of days ago.
Oh.
But I'm wondering if maybe I can reach out to her and
we'll see.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So I'll look into the Crystal. I don't know if you're still on here, but I'll look into the Tulare one right now.
Okay. Cool. All right, guys. We were supposed to end like 15 minutes ago, but
sorry.
We love you. We appreciate you. You are not alone. Be encouraged. We're going to win this thing.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we're going to be on the right side of history.
That's right. Yeah, history's going to look back. They're going to be like, those guys stood when everybody else didn't.
Yep.
So good on you. Keep the fight. Hold the line.